Live.
We are live. I'll wait for the clock to tick around and get the time exactly right. There's no clocks in the room now. I suppose you look at that one. Yeah, it's 17:30, and welcome this evening to the Housing and Environmental Scrutiny Committee on the 16th of September 2025. I'll read the following privacy statement. This meeting will be live streamed and recording made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images, audio of those individuals speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council's website at www.caerphilly.uk. Agenda item 1 is the standard one, apologies for absence, and I have one from Councillor Dawn Ingram-Jones. I'm not aware of any others.
No, Chair, just that one.
Just that one. Okay, thank you. And number 2, declaration.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, I thought somebody else was going to give it. Apologies from Councillor Donna Cushing.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Read declaration on the agenda sheet. And I just realize this is going. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and or prejudicial interests in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Do we have any declarations? I am aware of 2.
2 hands raised, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Cuss.
Yeah, item 8. I am Secretary of the Penydre Tenants and Residents Association, which is mentioned in page 64 and obviously will be affected by the funding decision. So I'll declare personal and prejudicial interest. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Amanda McConnell.
Thank you, Chair. The same for me. I'm involved with Greg Racker Association, so I need to declare an interest at item 8. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Anybody else?
Personal and prejudicial, yeah.
I can't see any of the hands. Agenda item 3, to approve and sign the following minutes. Housing and Environmental Scrutiny Committee held on the 17th of June 2025. I'll be abstaining on this because I was absent and the Vice Chair took that meeting on my behalf. So we need a voting slip. Councillor Pritchard.
Sorry, no, I was. It's page 6. As you go through it, I was a bit premature in raising my hand. So as you go through it, I've got something to say on page 6.
Checking for accuracy, Chair.
Yeah, let's check for accuracy before we do the next page. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right, so can I say what I think is inaccurate?
Go ahead. What do you think?
Right, thank you. Right, so sort of halfway down the paragraph that says a member queried how used nappies should be stored, and then on line 3 it says by amending the eligibility criteria for free collections from having 2 children in nappies down to 1, it should reduce any inconvenience for residents. Well, actually what we're doing is amending the criteria from 1 child in nappies to 2 children in nappies. So it's the other way round. Criteria for free collection from having 1 child in nappies to 2 children in nappies, it should reduce any inconvenience. I think that's what is meant. What we meant.
Obviously I wasn't there, Councillor Pritchard, so I'm looking at the Vice Chair.
Well, I thought it was down to I thought it was down to 1. They didn't have to wait till 2 children. It'll be for 1. Yeah.
Just concurring with colleagues.
Yes.
Yeah, Marcus Lloyd, you've got your hand raised.
Thank you, Chair. I think what is in the wording is correct. We were reducing, the criteria at the moment is you have to have 2 children in nappies to qualify for the collection, and we're reducing it to 1, which makes it better for the children, for the residents.
And that's how it is.
No, surely, I mean, if you've got...
Councillor Pritchard, let's see if Marcus Lloyd is finished. Have you finished, Marcus? Because
Yes,
obviously
I have. Thank you,
we've
Chair.
got an interpretation difference between yourself. I mean, I wasn't at the meeting, but my vice chair informs me that what he believes Marcus Lloyd said is correct, and I've got nobody else saying any different. But go ahead, Councillor Pritchard.
Well, I mean, surely it's more convenient to have, if you've got 2 children in nappies, it's more convenient to have a collection than if you've only got, no, sorry, the other way around. It would be an improvement if you are allowed to have the special collection if you had 2 children in nappies. And the way I read it is that we're cutting down the convenience by saying that only if you have 1 child can you have the collection, and if you've got 2 children you can't have if you've got one child that's okay, but if you've got 2 children you can't.
Councillor
I think it's the other way
I'm
around.
looking round the screens, and I'm looking at the amount of shaking heads I'm getting from elected members and officers. Marcus, would you like to respond? Because I understand that the criteria was 2 and it's now down to 1. So the service has been improved.
That is correct, Chair. So it's an improvement because at the moment the criteria for the nappy collection is you have to have 2 children in nappies before you qualify for the collection. The proposal was to reduce it to 1. Therefore, it's an improvement by reducing it to 1, and that's what was supported.
Thank you, Marcus. Councillor Bishop.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, and I'm sure Judith is on the same page as me. Obviously, sometimes we do mess up with our wording. Recently, we were on a case with the leisure centres where a carer couldn't receive free membership swimming with the person they were caring for because the wording of our policies was that they were a pensioner, so they didn't qualify.
Yeah,
so I just think we want to clarify that 1 child, yeah, that's great. 2 children, yeah, that's great. But do people with additional needs or anybody else who needs nappy bags then qualify as well, just so that we know?
Yeah, I think you wandered slightly off the subject, and I'm going to ask Marcus Lloyd to respond to that.
Yeah, I think the response is related to what is in the wording. I don't think we can change what is in addition to additional learning needs. We can't put that into the minutes of previously because it wasn't discussed at that point in time. So the wording that Councillor Pritchard has raised is just clarifying that wording is correct, that it is an improvement in what we have proposed. Is at the moment it is 2 children in that before you qualify. Moving forward it will be 1. But additional learning needs, not touching the minutes, yes, we would support additional learning needs, and anyone who has a need for that type of product collection, we would be looking to support that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we go back to agenda item 3, the minutes checking for accuracy. It's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 6, page 5, page 6 and page 7. Do I have a mover and seconder?
Move, Chair.
Thank you very much. That's Councillor Chapman and Councillor MacDonald. Thank you very much. Can we have the voting slip up, please? As explained earlier, I'll be abstaining because I wasn't present at the meeting.
That's been carried, Chair. 9 votes for and 3 abstentions, no votes against. Sorry, 9 votes for, 1 vote against and 4 abstentions.
Thank you very much. The minutes are duly carried and the Vice Chair will sign the minutes and pass them to committee services now. Agenda item 4, consideration of any matter referred to this committee in accordance with the call-in procedure. And as far as I'm aware,
no matter's been called in for this meeting, Chair.
Thank you, Scrutiny Officer. Agenda item 5, Housing and Environment Scrutiny Committee Forward Work Programme, and that's on pages 9 to 12. And I'll hand over to Mark Jakes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Members are asked to review the forward work programme for the Housing and Environment Scrutiny Committee alongside the forward work programme for the Cabinet, and to suggest any additions or amendments based on the criteria set out in Appendix 3. The next meeting of this committee will be on the 28th of October, and as you can see from your packs, there's 2 Q2 revenue budget monitoring reports, one for the housing revenue account and one for housing and environment coming to that committee. And there's also an information item on the highway budget apportionment report. So if members are happy, I'd like to seek approval to publish the forward work programme with any additions onto the council's website. Thank you, Chair.
I can't see any hands. Have we a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Adams. Thank you, Councillor Chapman. It's been moved and seconded. Councillor Bob Owen.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I was a bit late trying to get my hand up there then. I know Mark's just told us that he wants to put the what's on the next meeting. I'm totally in agreement with that, and we'll be voting for. But we normally get a few more meetings, which we have here. Information, I mean. You know, the what are we? The December meeting and the February meeting. Does that get put on at the same time, or are we only going month on month? It's just a question.
Thank you.
You know, onto the website.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Owen. Yeah, we do populate the forward work programme up until the end of March, as and when reports come forward or are suggested by members. At the moment, I don't think there is anything in for December, but that doesn't mean to say that there won't be in the next week or so.
Okay, Councillor Owen, does that answer your request?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. No, this forward work programme that I've got here has actually got items for the December and the February meetings as well.
Yes, it will have.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But that's not going on to the. We're only publishing what we're going to be discussing at the next meeting. No. That's what my query was. Because we've got three.
Mark's going to come back in now.
Sorry, Councillor Owen. Yeah, we will be publishing the forward work programme as presented in your packs. So the entire forward work programme up until March 26.
Right. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you,
Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I've had a mover and a seconder, Councillor Adams and Councillor Chapman. Can we have the voting slip up, please?
That's been carried unanimously, Chair, with 14 votes for.
Thank you, members. And we move on now to item 6. To receive and consider the following Cabinet Report, Future Wales and Recycling, 23rd July 2025. Any of the reports have been brought forward, please, Mark?
That report hasn't been brought forward for this meeting, Chair.
Thank you very much. That moves us quite neatly into agenda item 7. Audit Wales Waste Management Follow-up on pages 25 to 28. This is a matter for noting anyway, but I do know that there's some interest in asking questions on this. But Councillor Chris Morgan is going to take us through this introduction. Thank you, Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Chair. Waste Management Audit Wales Follow-up. This report is a follow-up from the audit that took place in 2023. The Welsh Government's waste strategy towards zero waste sets out its high-level policies and targets for waste management in Wales. Part of this strategy is its municipal municipal sector Plan 3, which details how its recommended service profile for the collection of waste from households in Wales, along with statutory annual recycling targets for councils to achieve. As members are already aware, the council has not met these annual targets since 2018-19, and its annual recycling performance has dropped in 5 of the last 6 reported years. The council faces reputational and financial risk of being fined by Welsh Government for every year it has not met this target. The 2023 audit found that, and I quote, "The council understands why its performance has declined but has been slow to address this, and whilst the council is developing a draft strategy, there remain significant risks to its successful implementation." This further audit was to seek an answer to: has the council effectively addressed the recommendations in our waste report issued September 2023? The council has made progress in addressing the recommendations made in the 2023 report. These include implementing a fully costed and funded waste and recycling strategy, implementing changes to its collection regime, implementing an engagement process with residents to encourage behaviour change around curbside collections, and developing new data sources to better understand how residents currently use waste and recycling services. The council currently anticipates that we will achieve Welsh Government statutory recycling targets by 2030, still facing the risk of financial penalties for each year the target is not achieved in the interim period. I know this passes over to officers who will introduce members of Audit Wales. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. I understand that Matthew, I hope you're pronouncing your surname right, Brushett, is here from Audit Wales. Would officers like to contribute before I go over to Matthew? Clive Campbell.
No, Chair, I'm quite happy to let Mr Brushett say what he has to say, and we'll pick up any questions afterwards.
Thank you, Mr Campbell.
Thank you.
Mr Brushett, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. I've got my colleague Duncan Mackenzie here today, and the two of us worked on the audit and authored the report. Duncan's going to go through the report in a second, so I'll hand over if you don't mind, and we're happy to take any questions at the end, and I think officers might want to say a few words as well. So Duncan, over to you, if that's all right, Chair.
Thank you, Matthew. Thanks very much indeed. Duncan.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members and officers. Yes, so I think your colleague has neatly summarised the reasons behind us carrying out this piece of work, and has also summarised our findings. So, as he said, it was a follow-up piece of work. We have concluded in this piece of work that the council has made progress addressing the recommendations that we made in 2023 by developing a fully costed waste strategy and implementing some of the actions within that. And there is potential that the council will have a newly aligned waste and recycling service that is capable of meeting Welsh Government targets. However, at the moment, we still find there is significant risk within its implementation. Essentially, it's a really complicated piece of work. There's a lot of activity and a lot of development that needs to take place between now and 2030 for the plan to succeed, and all that activity and plans need to align quite neatly. In layman's terms, there's not a lot of wiggle room for the council in terms of succeeding here, but there is absolute potential that it could succeed and will put the council in a far better place around its waste and recycling service. The second risk is that the way the plan and the milestones within it are aligned, the impact on performance in terms of improving your recycling rates will come late on within the plan, towards the last few years of the plan, so nearer to 2030 than to now. And that means the council faces an ongoing risk of not meeting the Welsh Government recycling targets, and therefore a continued risk of facing financial penalty from Welsh Government for that performance.
Thank you, Duncan. I've got two members who wish to ask questions on this subject. Councillor Adrian Hussey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not a big fan of Welsh Government's blueprint strategy as going forward, and probably 80,000 of our residents isn't either. There could be a change of circumstances at the Senedd next year. I was just wondering if our officers have got a contingency plan if anything happens that Welsh Government and their blueprint don't go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Hussey. Clive.
Thank you, Chair. Well, we are following the direction from Welsh Government in terms of legislation and guidance. So if there were to be any change in requirements, that legislation would need to change as well, which isn't a quick process. So for the time being, I think we are clearly focused on delivering the waste strategy. If there are to be any changes in the new administration, then there would need to be discussions held at that time about any potential impacts and alternatives.
So in essence, we can't act until we know.
Exactly.
So I feel like
we have an approved
I feel like you give me a
strategy.
Donald Rumsfeld answer there. There are unknowns
The
and there are
known
known
unknowns,
unknowns,
yes.
and there are unknowns.
Something
So
like that.
that's
What is
fine.
known is we've got an approved strategy and we're fully committed to delivering it. Thanks.
Thank you, Clive. Thank you, Councillor Hussey. Councillor Teresa Heron.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to talk about the overspends that are linked with the cost of running the ageing waste and recycling vehicles. Are you able to explain what the long-term plan is for replacing or upgrading the fleet so that we can avoid these regular extra costs in the future years?
Clive?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, certainly as part of the waste strategy, it is built into the financial plan and the commercial plan that we will replace our fleet and provide them with the appropriate specification to deliver on the agreed strategy. We do have an issue in the short term where, as you said, it's an aging fleet and we've got more challenges with maintaining that fleet. So there's a potential interim addition or additional purchases that we'll be looking at in the next few weeks, as there could be a funding opportunity from Welsh Government. They're well aware of our current situation and that we are working fully towards delivering that, the approved waste strategy, but that is going to still take a few years. So in the interim, we may have a need for some additional vehicles, which I think they will be open to providing additional funding to help us purchase them.
I know you've got a supplementary, Councillor Heron, but I just want to ask Mr. Campbell now. Can you give us an idea what the cost is of a refuse lorry? I'm sure all members will be interested.
I haven't bought one recently, but they're well into six figures.
They run to six figures?
Yes.
And do we lease ours or do we purchase them direct?
Ours are owned, although we do have some on hire because we're undertaking works at Full Moon at the moment, which is because the residual waste facility isn't in use, isn't available for use. We've had to hire additional vehicles to ship that to the transfer site, the site that deals with the waste. And with the Cleaner and Greener, there are some additional vehicles that we've hired for that short-term period because it's a seasonal increase.
Thank you, Clive. Marcus, you want to come in on this?
Thank you, Chair. It's just to give you some indication. I know Clive's indicated six-figure sums, but vehicles can be in the order of £200,000 to purchase for this type of operation. As Clive has mentioned, yes, we've got a combination of purchased and hired different aspects of vehicles, and we're looking at those options to make sure that that fleet can service our need up until the point we move to Blueprint. As we move to Blueprint, some of the collection vehicles will be of a totally different specification, and so it's not financially astute to make an investment in buying new vehicles at the moment. So we're looking at all different options because of the type of collection vehicle we need with a new type of fleet. But it will be a mix depending on the types of collection that we use. But as Clive mentioned, we will look to maximise any Welsh Government funding that's available. We're also going to be looking as part of the blueprint to transition as well to EV vehicles to make them more fuel efficient, etc. as well. And the cost of an EV vehicle is probably around double the price of a traditional diesel vehicle. But there are grants available from Welsh Government where they will cover the cost of that cost difference. And the new facility that we're looking to develop will be set up for EV charging, and we'll have solar generation as well as part of it to allow us to have that circular economy and a sustainable way forward.
Thank you, Marcus. Councillor Herring, you want to come back?
Thank you for those comments. It's really interesting because a couple of more follow-up questions but you've just answered them. But I wanted to ask about the building cleaning days. The building cleaning service is overspending because of its new charging system, and it's been delayed until 2026. I wanted to know what was being done to manage these extra costs in the meantime, and how you'll make sure the new system is delivered on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herring. Clive or Marcus? Is that something you can answer here, or do you want to? Marcus has put his hand up. You let me know.
Can we take that? That isn't related to this report in any way whatsoever, but I'm happy to pick this up with Councillor Herring separately.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Marcus.
Is that okay?
That's fine. Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Thank you. Well, I was a member of the Waste Strategy Group, and I'm totally convinced that following the Welsh Government blueprint is the way to go. I think we have to do that. But there are two questions that, for me, are unresolved. And the first thing is, why did our performance on recycling decline between 2017-18 to 2021-22. I still really haven't had a very good answer about that. And then the second question is, why is Caerphilly's waste per household so high compared with the rest of Wales? Is this a thing that the Audit Commission looked into? Because I can't see why we should be wasting all together. I mean, food and residual and recycling. Why on earth do we produce so much compared with the rest of Wales?
I don't know who wants to answer that. Marcus, Clive? I mean, we can't justify the amount of waste our residents put out. That's not something is behest to us, I don't believe. Marcus?
Thank you, Chair. I'll attempt to provide some information on that. The reason for the decline is purely down to the fact that people are not recycling enough, and obviously and that accumulates. And if they're not recycling, our recycling figures go down, and our residual waste goes up. So that more or less answers both questions in one. If we could get people to recycle more, it would make a huge difference. I believe and off the top of my head, I'd have to confirm this figure, but around 59%, I think it is, of our residual waste is recyclable. So if we can get that residual waste down by taking all the recyclable material out, that will increase our figures for recycling, and also reduce our amount of residual per household as well.
So,
Councillor Pritchard, hold on a moment. I've got other councillors who want to ask a question, but you want a residual, yes?
You allowed Councillor Herring to have a follow-up. This is a follow-up on what I've just said.
I am allowing you to have a follow-up, Councillor Pritchard. I'm not going to have a debate with you. I just said I'm allowing you to have the follow-up.
Right, thank you. Well, it was a question for the Audit Commission, not for our officers. Did the Audit Commission looked into all these things? Did they come across anything that they thought could answer the two questions I've just asked?
Mr. Mackenzie, have you got an answer?
I think we used the data that is two main sources of data. One is the data that is publicly available through Stats Wales, which all 22 councils provide to Welsh Government and is then collated and published on their website. And we also utilised the research and evaluation work that RAP conducted around looking at sampling the waste provided by residents to understand how it's constituted from the different streams of waste. So we used that data.
Your screen's frozen, Mr. Mackenzie. I think Mr. Mackenzie's answered the question. I'll move on to Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Chair. I've not put my camera on because I've had some problems logging on tonight. I did put it in the comments. No, similar to Councillor Pritchard, I'm this question of where we are in the sort of league table, and you know what Marcus Lloyd has just said, that we're not recycling enough, which we know, but it still doesn't answer the question, looking at the table in the report, where 2017, 18, 18, 19, we were sort of 4th and 6th respectively. And then all of a sudden, 2019, 20, we went down to 20th. And since we've gone down to 21st. Well, if we weren't recycling enough, or we from 2019, 2020 to go to 20th, how did that massive difference come between being right at the top of the table to right to the bottom? I mean, we didn't stop recycling, did we? I'm assuming that we were recycling okay 2018, 19, and I know the targets have been rising. The Welsh government are, you know, making it rise, you know, lifting the targets sort of year on year or whatever it is, and we've got to keep you know, keeping up with that target. But we just fell away that year to massive, you know, to a massive down to the bottom end from 6th to 20th. And this, we're not recycling enough. I'm finding hard to just accept, unless you can put some context on that as to what we were recycling in, say, 2018, 19, when we were 6th, to what we were recycling in 2019 to 20, because there wasn't a huge jump in the Welsh government's targets that made us fall away. We need some more context around the recycling issue then, or why we weren't. It's more of a comment really, but if we could be fed a little bit more information, it would be easier to explain to residents and other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. So I think that's a request from officers to provide some additional information. Clive?
Thanks, Chair. Just as a general comment, it's worth remembering that a number of local authorities were in a similar position to ourselves, but they've made more progress than we have in terms of moving to the blueprint. So over those last few years, we are one of I think it's around three councils who haven't moved to the blueprint, and others have either implemented the blueprint or are further towards meeting that blueprint. So that's what I'd say in terms of the council's actions in tackling residual waste and recycling. But I'd also make a comment about education and awareness, that it's about changing behaviours as well. We can deal with the waste that we collect and the recycling we collect and try and maximise the recycling and minimise the residual waste. But there's also about an education programme about making people aware of their choices, trying to reduce the waste they discard in the first place. So things like the reuse programme and having recycling advisors, which we're in the process of increasing our complement of advisors. So a variety of measures that sit alongside the operational improvements we can make, and they will all start to
thank you very much.
Improve our targets.
Thank you. Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Chair. Following on from Councillor Bob Owen's question, how will the council address residents' resistance to implementing the blueprint?
Clive?
Well, as I just touched on in a previous comment, it is about changing hearts and minds. It is about raising awareness. We have recycling advisors that are going door to door, engaging with residents about what we're trying to achieve and what are the statutory duties upon us. And as far as possible, we'll continue to push that and change behaviours. But ultimately, there is a stick as well as a carrot. And the stick, I'm afraid, is the penalties that the council may be subjected to from Welsh Government, but then the enforcement side of waste collection through our own internal enforcement, where we will serve notice, several notices actually. It's about 3 or 4 stages before anybody actually is issued with a fixed penalty notice. But that is the ultimate backstop in terms of the action that the council can take in moving people towards a more productive way of dealing with their waste and recycling.
Thank you, Clive. I can't see any more hands up. Councillor Williams.
Just a question, and following on from the theme from Councillor Owen and said and Councillor Hussey. I don't think I think it's fair to say that the idea of moving to the blueprint is not universally welcomed throughout the borough, and not just might be met with some resistance, but also a lot of difficulty in many people adapting to the new nature of it. I was just drawn to what it said in the report at page 7 of 18. Paragraph 15, it says, the council is seeking to understand the root causes of low participation for recycling. And the next, and has commissioned external support to try to identify those causes. The very next paragraph, it says, despite having a good understanding of the reasons for decline in performance, it suggests that the council is slow to address them. That seems to be a little bit contradictory. But as I say, it seems that there's no certainty that we will meet those targets with this new blueprint system that we're now going down to. And many of us are aware how very expensive that process is going to cost this council, notwithstanding the help from Welsh Government. As I say, I take your point on what Mark has said about the cost of the new vehicles and the new recycling centre and all the rest of it. So I think there's still a lot of concern by members as well as many of the residents of how this is actually going to work going forward.
I presume that was a statement rather than a question.
It was, but it was just drawing the difference between that statement that we're looking to understand the reasons for the decline in performance, but followed up with we have a good understanding. It just seemed a little bit contradictory for me.
Okay,
thanks very much.
Clive wants to respond.
Thanks, Chair. You can look at that in 2 ways. We have the support of Welsh Government's advisors in developing and delivering the waste strategy. The ones I tend to name the first are called WRAP, Waste and Resources Partnership. They have been through this process with most of the local authorities in Wales that have moved to Blueprint. So in terms of the reasons, there is an understanding through them and those, as our advisors, of what the reasons are. But when it comes to our residents, maybe that's where we don't have that direct feedback from the residents. And through our advisors and direct engagement with residents, we will learn more that will help feed into our approach. And if it also, just as a bit of encouragement, hopefully, and confidence, we are not trailblazing here. We are one of the last to move to Blueprint in terms of local authorities in Wales. And the trend and the evidence from all those local authorities who have moved to it is that their recycling rates improve significantly, which is why we are trailing behind.
Thank you, Clive. Thanks very much. I can't see any more hands up, so the report is due to be... Duncan Mackenzie, do you want to make a comment before we close?
I was only going to chip in right at the end, Chair, thank you, and just thank officers and members, some of whom were on the call or in the meeting, for their support to us to get this piece of work done. It's pretty much always the case that councils do that for us, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't mention it every time it happens. So a big thanks to officers and members, as I said, who helped us get this piece of work done in a very timely and efficient manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments, Mr. Mackenzie. Thanks very much for your participation. The report is for noting only, so we don't have to take a vote on it tonight. Thank you for your contributions to the report, and thank you to the officers from Audit Wales. Agenda item 8 is tenant engagement on pages 59 to 86, and Councillor Cook's going to introduce this item. Thank you, Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This report is to set out the core aims and objectives of the new Caerphilly Homes Tenant Engagement Strategy 2025-2032. The last report to members on tenant engagement was in February 2023, which outlined proposed tenant engagement activities under development. This report provides an update on the progress made and the developments related to the activities previously outlined in 2023. A new 7-year tenant engagement strategy has been co-produced with tenants and Caerphilly Homes staff. This strategy sets out Caerphilly Homes' commitment to work in partnership with tenants to shape the services that matter most to them. The report also notes the relationship between Caerphilly Homes and tenants and residents associations, which has changed over time, and the paper expands on why changes are proposed, providing the recommended way forward for how we support associations going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. And it remiss of me before I introduce Councillor Cook that Councillor MacDonald and Councillor Cuss have registered declarations of interest, so personal and prejudicial, so I can ask you to leave the meeting before questions and the debate takes place. Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Questions? I can see none. We have to move and second and vote via Teams on this report. So can I have a mover and seconder, please?
Move, Chair.
Councillor Hussey and Councillor Adams, yeah. Can we have a voting slip up, please?
That's carried unanimously, Chair, with 10 votes for.
Thank you. I always make life easy for my colleagues in the Housing Department.
Yeah, we'll just call back Councillor Cuss and Councillor McConnell.
Yeah. Can we call them back?
Councillor Cuss is back in now, Chair, and we're going to call Councillor McConnell in.
Yeah. Welcome back, Councillor Cuss.
We're still going to keep calling Councillor McConnell.
Yeah, we'll keep calling Councillor McConnell. And so we move on to agenda item 9, Housing Revenue Accounts Outturn 24-25, pages 87 to 92. Councillor Cook, yourself again.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this report is to inform you of the outturn position for the Housing Revenue Account, HRA, for the 2024-25 financial year. The HRA Capital Programme outturn, which is mainly funded by the HRA, is also included within this report. The HRA budget for 2024-25 is just over 60 million, with its main components consisting of 23 million of salaries, 8 million of capital financing charges, 2.2 million housing strategy, which is new build, 1.6 million of building maintenance and response repairs, 3 million of SLA type internal service charges, and 19.2 million of revenue contributions to fund the post-asset management strategy programme. There's also a budget of 15.4 million for the PAMS programme, which is recharged fully to the capital programme and mainly covers the maintenance of the WHQS programme, voids and remodelling works. The spend on the HRA is self-financed mainly by the rental income we collect from our council tenants, of which about 77% is funded by housing benefits. Members are requested to note the content of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. This item is for noting only, but the recommendation is on 3.1 of the report. Councillor Pritchard.
Yes, thank you. I'm concerned about the underspends. I mean, I appreciate there's got to be a bit of flexibility. You can't go to the exact amount that you've got in the budget, but these do seem to be rather big underspends, and I'm particularly concerned about the salaries underspend, which is 10% of salaries budget hasn't been spent. And when we think of the empty houses we've got and the council houses that need repair and could be used to house people who are homeless at the moment or temporarily, in temporary accommodation, it's pretty shocking. And this is a thing that's been raised in various parts of the council over the last year or so. But the explanation that we can't repair these houses because of two things. One of them is the timing for filling vacant posts. Now, I've raised before about the length of time it takes to recruit people, because I've had the experience with a caretaker in our local community centre. But something has to be done to speed up the HR department so that they can fill posts much quicker. And the other thing is, sorry, I've lost my thread now. The other thing is, if one of the other explanations is that we don't pay enough, basically. Other organisations like other private building firms and housing associations actually pay better rates. Now, have we looked into possibly paying better rates ourselves? Because if you balance the amount that we're spending on homelessness and other things, and with the amount that that would cost us to increase the wages for plumbers and builders and bricklayers, etc. I mean, has that work been done? But it is possible to make exceptions for certain categories of workforce. For instance, the fleet management, we certainly increased the rates there, market forces. So has anybody thought of doing that? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. And I've also got Councillor Adrian Hussey on my list. But if Nick or Leslie wants to respond to Councillor Pritchard first before I take Councillor Hussey.
Thanks, Councillor Wickham. Thanks, Councillor Pritchard. Those of you that had seen the latest show and tell that I gave a couple of Wednesdays ago, maybe you saw it, maybe it's online, went through our progress on what we're doing on our vacant homes programme. We're going into a period of Define now to unpack all of the issues related with improving and transforming how we deliver the service. One of those is our workforce and various issues that we linked with HR. We're obviously bound by the corporate policies to do with HR and how we recruit and salary bandings and gradings, etc. And if anything does come out of that we need to further, then we will. I don't know whether Leslie wanted to say anything specifically about the underspend on staffing.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, thanks, Councillor Pritchard. It is high, yes, you are correct, 10% is high. It has been creeping up, but I think you answered the question yourself, really, because it is due to the challenges that we face in trying to recruit in the posts, and Nick is obviously on it in terms of the void process anyway, so it should sort itself out.
Thank you both, but I would make a comment that it was ever thus. I worked on the tools many years ago, so I had to believe that I didn't have a grey moustache in those days. And the outside contractors were always paid higher than the council workers, but we enjoyed better holidays, we enjoyed sick pay, and we enjoyed a pension scheme. It was ever thus. Councillor Hussey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously, with the amount of voids we got, we are losing quite a bit of revenue. I wonder if we could have the information about how much money we are losing with these voids, and is it possible for members to have a list of voids in their wards? That's at all possible, or is it too much work?
Thank you, Councillor Hussey. I mean, I think that's a fair request for us all as elected members to have a list of voids with our own wards. And I'm not being parochial because I don't. We're talking about strategic issues now, not ward issues. But I think it would be easy. Nick, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the impact of various issues around how we manage the impact of voids within a community. I think that there is being aware of where the vacant properties are does have an impact on kind of community issues and community cohesion. We're actually looking at whether we revise our view around how we board all of our properties as standard. I think sometimes making a point of hoarding the properties within a community does have a negative impact. So we're looking at that and kind of highlighting the level of vacant properties. But I don't think we would be able to review with each member where the level of vacant properties are within their ward. But it turns over regularly. It changes every week. We are seeing an increase, which we're tracking the reason for the increase of the amount of properties that come back to us when we call the keys in from end of tenancy. Then we are able to move through the process and put back out. I think the stats this week were we received 18 properties back in this week, and we were only able to bring 9 back into circulation for various reasons. There's lots of reasons in terms of the size of the properties that came back at that point, the works that were required to individual properties, etc. But I don't think it's unreasonable not to provide some of that detail to individual ward members.
Thank you, Nick. Councillor Hussey, do you want to come back?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just wondering, Nick, how long do it take to turn a void around? Because I remember one of our members said he could do it in a couple of days.
I think that would be largely quite ambitious, but I did give some headlines at the latest show and tell stand up for all members to partake in. I think we're currently we've split it into, because it's now a corporate objective priority, increasing availability of housing across the county borough. Currently, we're monitoring 1 bed's turnaround time, 2 bed turnaround time, and 3 beds turnaround time. We've also done some benchmarking against this to see how we fare across the UK wide and other peers. The 1 beds are around about 90 days. I think the 2 beds are around about the same, maybe slightly higher, the mid-90s, and the 3 beds are around 120 at the moment, average in terms of turnaround times. That is skewed by various properties that have been held for some time. Largely some of our sheltered stock that have been there for some time. Some of the stock that is taking a while to understand the significance of the works and planning that in and understanding that. So you have to take some of those stats with some anomaly that will drive them down. But the benchmarking we've done with Housemark suggests that as an average across, I think it was 45 organisations with around about £1.1 billion worth of spend. That was about 74 days. That's across the piece. So we've got a way to go. We absolutely are in a transformation kind of agenda and trying to transform the service. But we are seeing incremental improvements, and that will continue as we get into delivery after we've been through this defined phase of the transformation programme.
Thank you, Nick. Councillor Shane Williams.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just picking up on what you said, Nick, and I understand the desire to transform the system, and we've all raised the issue of voids many times. And I was just picking up on what you said about boarding up some of the properties. I think some of the members have been concerned about seeing some properties boarded up for a very long time. And I know the pressures to get the houses up to standard and back open, but it is still a frustration for all of us, I suppose. and confusing for many of the residents, particularly when they see some of the homes boarded up for a very long time, without, it seems, much going on there. And I just wanted to reinforce that to you, Nick.
Thank you very much. I can't see any more hands. This subject, item 9, is for noting only. Therefore, I conclude that we've drawn the debate to a close, and I will close the meeting thereof. And just a reminder to all members that the pre-election period starts on Thursday, at which we have to be extremely careful that we do not cross the line in carrying out our duties into the world of politics and represent our communities. Myself